the Dharma Chakra Wheel of Furu's Incantation, and the Divergent Scylla Divine General Mahoraga. These two aspects of the 10 Sacred Treasures techniques are perhaps the most broken abilities in the series. Today, my brothers and sisters, we will be talking about Mahoraga, the Dharma Wheel, and the specific nature of its adaptation, and why it has the real potential and ability to adapt to the Gojo clan's limitless curse technique. The 8-handled sword, Divergent Scylla Divine General Mahoraga. This is a Shikigami manifested from the Zenin clan's 10 Sacred Treasures technique and is theorized as the strongest and final Shikigami of the 10 shadows. Debuting in chapter 117, Mahoraga is an extremely powerful Shikigami that comes set with a Shinto Buddhist wheel called the Dharma Chakra. This emblem is hailed from Furu's incantation. This word comes from Furu no Koto and is said to be Koto Dama, defined as soul or spirit power of language for resuscitation. It was believed that spoken words had some kind of influence on actual phenomena, so this incantation is a kind of chant. This is why Megumi says, Yura Yura. In folklore, the Makora, as in the original kanji, or Mahoraga, is described as these anthropomorphic deities with the head of a serpent and the body of a man, and this ties in with Akutami's depiction of it. Sukuna also mentioned that Mahoraga is similar to Yamato no Orochi. This was an 8-headed and 8-tailed serpent, and Mahoraga likely was depicted like that serpent-like head, and apparently trees grew out of this Yamato and grew out of its back, and he was covered in moss. Additionally, it was so big that it covered 8 valleys and 8 hills. In legend, it was defeated by Susanoo, the thunder god in Shintoism, that killed it by first intoxicating it with sake before striking him down. The Makora were like Buddhist guards, and Mahoraga was one of the 8 legions who protected Dharma. This is the all-encompassing cycle and harmony as described by Sukuna in chapter 118. And via Sukuna's description of this Dharma wheel, it gives the user the ability to adapt to any and all phenomena. This Dharma Chakra wheel allowed Mahoraga to endure Sukuna's dismantle and cleave, and more specifically, Mahoraga endured the default dismantle slash, and after its Dharma wheel spun, its wounds healed, and it was able to perceive Sukuna's curse technique, enough to even deflect it. And after experiencing Sukuna's dismantle and cleave, Mahoraga was even able to withstand the full brunt of Sukuna's domain expansion Malevolent Shrine. This is especially impressive because it was not only able to adapt to the curse technique, more specifically it adapted to the phenomena of slashing attacks in general. Because in theory, dismantle and cleave are 2 different types of attacks, but they both slash, so Mahoraga adapted accordingly. In fact, the only way to defeat Mahoraga is to slaughter it with a new attack before it can adapt. So Sukuna took it down with his flame ability while Mahoraga was regenerating, effectively defeating it. In terms of practicality, Mahoraga also has a cursed tool named the Sword of Extermination. This sword has been shown to emit positive cursed energy similar to reverse curse technique, so it is especially deadly toward cursed spirits, as positive energy destroys curses' bodies. Even Sukuna admitted that he'd be a goner if he himself was a cursed spirit being, and in turn, Mahoraga adapted its cursed energy accordingly when it recognized that Sukuna was in a sorcerer's body, so it reinforced its strikes with negative energy instead in its second attack. It really does adapt to anything. So how strong is Mahoraga? Well, in this video we won't go into too many specifics, but all around, Mahoraga is undoubtedly one of the strongest entities in the series and would more than likely prove a very hard challenge to even some of the special grades, in theory of course. Gojo and Sukuna are a special case, but Mahoraga will not die to any foe unless they're able to concisely kill him in one fell swoop before he can adapt, or kill him with a different type of ability before he adapts. Because once Mahoraga does adapt, he will quickly become impervious and aware of said phenomena. And it's not like Mahoraga is a pushover either. This is a hulking 10+ foot tall monster who hits with enough force to send Sukuna flying. And that's not to be said lightly. Mahoraga sent Sukuna through buildings and threw him outside the barrier curtain set in Shibuya. and every hit that makes contact causes the ground to quake and crumble. Moments after launching Sukuna, Mahoraga was ready in pursuit with a follow-up attack. This thing is really freaking strong, and its adaptation only makes it that much more unstoppable. Even Sukuna admitted, just a wince of doubt from the king, that if he was in his three-finger state, then Mahoraga may have been able to beat him, which seems obvious enough, but it's crazy that Sukuna would actually acknowledge that. So Mahoraga's speed, his strength, and his insane hacks makes Mahoraga a cut above in terms of that upper echelon of power in the series. But his true treasure is the wheel on its back. Recently, the DHARMACHAKRA wheel has been shown to be used separately from the Mahoraga Shikigami. Sukuna has used the wheel as an innate personal item, and as such, Sukuna was able to experience Yorozu's construction curse technique via the liquid metal and completely adapt to it. Once Sukuna harnessed the wheel and was trapped in Yorozu's domain expansion, he was able to summon Mahoraga separately and transfer his adaptation to the Shikigami to destroy Yorozu's perfect sphere and collapse her domain by cutting her down. Considering the nature and how Sukuna switched, his DHARMACHAKRA wheel responded to the technique by spinning, so he traded places with Mahoraga in order to break her domain sure hit from within. Since Yorozu uses perfect sphere as the sure hit, this is an impossible sphere with an infinitesimally small contact area, resulting in an infinite pressure upon its surface. There's no actual way to touch perfect sphere without getting instantly crushed. However, since this absolute mad lad Mahoraga adapted to the nature of the technique, it was able to not only touch perfect sphere, but able to break it. Mahoraga just invaded her domain and broke its sure hit, just like that. If you notice, Mahoraga never broke the domain expansion shell itself, as the perfect sphere resides inside the domain as a sure hit. So once he destroyed that sure hit, he promptly cut down Yorozu, and then the barrier itself fell. At least that's how it seems. There's also the factor of the Sword of Extermination's positive cursed energy along with Mahoraga's adaptation, so either case, Yorozu was just utterly screwed. I mean, it was just a hard counter. Sukuna points out, because of the specific repetitive pattern of Yorozu's construction, it always ended up creating insect armor or liquid metal. However, Sukuna had already adapted to those things, meaning the Dharma adaptation probably does not specifically adapt to an entire curse technique itself, but it adapts to the specific nature of the curse technique. And the fanbook mentions it analyzes enemy attacks in order to gain resistance and land effective hits. Yorozu's perfect sphere was more than likely made out of her liquid metal substance, so Sukuna adapted to the liquid metal, and effectively Mahoraga shut it down in the domain by breaking it. This creates a very unique condition. On one hand, if a curse technique uses different application of the ability, then the Dharma wheel is ineffective. Maybe Yorozu could have created poison or fire with her construction as an add-on. On the other hand, if this said curse technique has the same specific nature with different application, like the liquid metal Yorozu uses, then you are kinda screwed because Mahoraga already adapted to that one aspect of your curse technique, making all other attempts futile. So how is this used in context with Infinity? Can Mahoraga bypass Infinity and the Gojo clan's limitless curse technique? Well, I really want to see it to believe it, but the DHARMACHAKRA wheel will probably adapt to limitless. Like I just mentioned before, the wheel will allow the user to gain resistance and land effective hits. In the past, Gojo explained 400 years ago, a 6 Eyes Limitless user and a 10 Shadows user fought to the death, and both respective clan heads died in that battle. Megumi reveals that he assumes Mahoraga was used like he did with that sacrificial trump card as well. Obviously, there's no real way to gauge that 6 Eyes Limitless user's strength, but he was beaten to death, with the main culprit being this same Mahoraga. So using context, it must have found a way to bypass or counter at least one or all of the infinities that comes as standard for the clan. It's only an assumption, a pretty damn good assumption, but you can only guess what happened. But no, one thing is that Mahoraga happened. Now, I don't know how something adapts to infinity. It's stated the infinity series is something that is pulled out of reality. It's something that's naturally there, but things like negative distance and the convergence and divergence of inviolable space would definitely be something that would fit the criteria for the DHARMACHAKRA wheel. After all, it adapts to any and all phenomena. Something I see debated a lot is if this applies to the specific nature of infinity, or if it would apply to the convergence or divergence individually in different infinities, because there are different types of infinities together, like the neutral stopping motion, the blue attraction, the red repulsion, and of course hollow purple, which collides blue and red, creating an erasure of imaginary mass to delete things. Now, hollow purple is not something I see Mahoraga surviving in one blow, specifically the one Gojo launched in Goodwill. But if Mahoraga survives simultaneous red and blues or other aspects of infinity, I do see it posing a real threat to a limitless user like Gojo. Now, I don't know what that would look like. No one does really. Like how much Mahoraga is actually affected by limitless. Some people speculate he'd just ignore it completely. He'd slice through it, nullify it. The headcanon is a crazy place, man. But one thing is true, Mahoraga wouldn't die from it if he already adapted to it. In turn, you might say the same is the same case for any user who possesses the Dharmachakra wheel to have the same adaptability. So can the Dharmachakra wheel adapt to infinity? Yes, probably. It would make the most sense considering it's the only viable counter to Gojo outside of domain techniques like amplification and expansion. This isn't really a video going over if Mahoraga can defeat Gojo. I'm sure you guys will bring that up in the comments anyway. But just know, me personally, I think Gojo is far too smart, too capable, and too hacked out of his damn mind to lose against Mahoraga, even if it does counter him. But Ryomen Sukuna, plus the Dharmachakra wheel, plus Mahoraga, plus 10 shadows, plus the shrine, oh man, now that seems like a real life-threatening challenge to Gojo. At full power, that is the only scenario I see Gojo actually going all out for. And trust me, that will be an epic battle. This is definitely a more major topic considering we will likely see these curse techniques clash in the future and possibly get more info and lore on Furu's incantation as the series moves toward the end of the story. Today I just wanted to talk about the lore and power of the Dharmachakra wheel, Mahoraga, and the potential of its adaptation. Soon I might do a Mahoraga versus Gojo video and why it's not even close, but let me know if that's something you guys want to see. Look forward to the next Jujutsu Kaisen video as it's going to be an extra spicy versus battle, so look out for that. This has been Enemy Stand User, and I'll see you awesome guys in the next one. Bye-bye.